I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're honored to feature Dr. Alexander Barrie. He is the author of an amazing book. It is called Correct Your Pelvis and Heal Your Back Pain, 3rd edition. This groundbreaking book explores the critical role of pelvic stability in alleviating musculoskeletal pain, especially in the back. Dr. Barrie, drawing from his extensive observations and research, argues that a common yet often overlooked cause of back pain is leg length discrepancy, stemming from pelvic dislocation. His book not only explains this connection, but also offers techniques and tools like the Pelvic Corrector Device to realign the pelvis, promoting overall spinal health and well-being. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his important book. It just might make you feel better. The links are below this interview. Dr. Barrie, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you.
If anybody's ever had a custom suit made, you'll find out this arm is longer than this arm, that leg is longer than this way, your back is tilted this way, your pelvis is tilted this way. We're all kind of misaligned. But your theory is the human pelvis engenders a lot of pain and misery when it's dislocated. Tell us a little bit about that theory and how you came upon it.
Well, I noticed in the early days of treating people that as soon as they lay on the couch, face upwards, almost without exception, leg length discrepancy could be seen. And this was a factor that was never really brought up in my early studies, whether the Oriental studies or Occidental, East or West. And this intrigued me because invariably there were musculoskeletal aches and pains with all those who had this discrepancy of leg length. And with empirical work on myself and on others, always we returned to the pelvis. There seemed to be certain problems with it. And when there was a problem, inevitably, one leg was shorter or longer than the other. And over the years, I began to see that there were two main problems that the pelvis suffers. In itself, wholesale, a complete pelvis can either drop to the left or drop to the right. And it takes that drop takes that leg with it. So if it's a drop on the right or prolapse, a bony prolapse on the right, so it takes the leg with it. And so the right leg is longer than the left leg. Once the pelvis is restored, the legs line up. And it makes such an immense difference to the whole skeletal frame. Because what is not generally taught, even to osteopaths and chiropractors, is that the pelvis is the foundation of the skeletal frame. It's a foundation according to the height of the person. We think of a foundation being at ground level, but this is an elevated one. It's quite an extraordinary design altogether. So being the foundation of the skeletal frame, if it moves awry, as it does, then the bones below it, the legs, and the bones above it also move out of kilter.
So if you've got your pelvis misaligned, one leg longer than the other, your back is also taking some type of pressure or curvature, and that's causing back pain.
It's actually curvature. So let us say a nice horizontal pelvis allows a vertical spine to be at right angles, yes? The moment there is a drop on one side, the spine itself has to accommodate that and curves accordingly. So some segments of the spine rotate horizontally and some vertically, all the way up to the cranial base, the neck. So apart from back pain itself, the most common problems are stiff neck, very painful shoulder. These are the most common factors. And in the legs themselves, invariably there is a knee situation, which seems unable to heal.
Mm.
And it won't heal until the pelvis itself is aligned so that the legs fall vertically to the ground. When there is a dislocation of the pelvis, the legs cannot or are disallowed to fall vertically to the ground. They fall at an angle. And that discombobulation is felt at the hip or the knee or the ankle or the foot itself. But once the pelvis has been restored, then bingo, you can enjoy a pain-free or an almost pain-free life. By the way, the other problem that the pelvis suffers, apart from a drop, is the pelvis itself becomes dysfunctional. At the sacroiliac joints, the wings of the pelvis, they shear, they twist in opposite directions. And that lifts one leg up. So a pelvis wholesale that drops on one side, the pelvis itself is culpable in that it takes one leg with it. Mm. And with a shear like this, the leg is lifted.
It's amazing. It's amazing the implications, but that's how it is. You have one thing wrong with your body and you have pain throughout your body. And like you said, this is a major structure. For me, a layperson, it seems like it's the most solid skeletal structure in our body. Let me ask you this. Again, as a layperson, would seem like maybe like orthopedic shoes might help at the leg length discrepancy, but I think that's only symptomatic. You have a much more useful tool in correcting this. Yeah, tell us a little bit about treating this.
Yes, the worst thing that you could have is an orthotic lift up, because you're just perpetuating the problem.
Right.
Perhaps 1 in 500 people have a true leg length discrepancy after pelvic correction. So if there's still a discrepancy, then indeed they would require a heel lift. Usually it's around 1/4 of an inch or just under a centimeter. And it can be a movable heel lift from shoe to shoe. That would help to keep the balance of the pelvis. You see.
And what's the more permanent solution, doctor?
The permanent solution is to have osteopathic and chiropractic or shiatsu treatments, any kind of body work, but in addition to buy my pelvic corrector, I would say. And you can return the pelvis yourself. The corrector is required to be used at least twice a day, and it corrects the pelvis for you. The techniques can be seen on videos that I have. Very, very, very important. You see, the point is this. Most people's pelvises have been out of kilter for donkey's years. Mm-hmm. Right. So when you correct the pelvis, the soft structures, the muscles and the ligaments around the dislocation have got used to the wrong position over the years. So the therapist returns the pelvis, but those muscles, those ligaments will just pull it back out again. Mm. This is why you have to have repeat visits to your body worker.
Yeah. Tell me.
But you can put it back yourself via the techniques that the pelvic corrector executes.
Tell us about your pelvic corrector. How does it work? Do you sit in it? Do you wear it? Tell us a little bit about the
simplest. It actually administers 2 different techniques. One that you could be sitting and using it this way between the legs. Mm-hmm. With specific movement. And the simplest way is when you actually sit into it, although it's slightly offset. And the legs are like windscreen wipers. And the knobbly bits on the corrector itself stimulate certain acupuncture points, very important ones, to do with not only the alignment of the pelvis itself, but also affect the nerves and some of the meridians that passed through. These are Chinese meridians, such as the bladder and the kidney and so on. and the gallbladder. They affect these very important points. And by stimulating these points, again, you get this return. The pelvis tends to realign itself.
Amazing.
It takes 2 minutes.
Amazing. Well, it's worth that investment of time for sure if it's going to alleviate your pain.
And it has no moving parts. It's just one simple device.
Amazing. How do people go about purchasing this pelvic corrector?
On my website at the moment, and the website is being revamped and made more available, more user-friendly over the next few weeks. Okay. And so the device may be purchased on that website.
Wonderful. We will have a link for that website below this interview as well, where you can purchase your pelvic corrector and bring peace to your body, alignment to your body.
Yes.
Let me ask you a little bit about physiological changes over the years. People in the past seemed like they were stronger, they were stockier. Nowadays, everything is self-motorized and we seem to be weaker and frailer. Is that part of the problem as well? We're getting skeletally more weak?
Yes, we are. If you remember your grandparents, they were much stronger, better built, and able to take much more whatever life threw at them. And it partly has to do with the fact that although at the present time the world seems as though it's falling to bits, and in some ways it is, and that we live in relatively safe times compared to, say, 150, 200 years ago, with that ease, we take things for granted. We have amenities today that help us to take much of the drudgery out of life, but that's not necessarily a good thing. And we've become weaker psychologically because of this. Perhaps we expect too much now. And then there's the other problem of our food being contaminated with different chemicals, with pesticides and herbicides, and certain other problems, many of which stem from one of your countrymen back in the 1920s. I think his name was Rockefeller. And we should use that name very carefully, because we have someone who really did not think much of humanity and probably did everything to try and destroy it, but in a very subtle way. But that's a whole story in itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So part of your plan is to eat right as well, get the proper nutrition, and get some physical exercise, So all of this lends to having a strong back, a balanced pelvis. Go ahead, doctor.
Absolutely. But this takes time.
Yeah.
And you're still in pain. Yeah. And one of the reasons for inventing this particular device was because we can't always wait. As long as you practice the technique twice a day, you're out of pain, because it takes time to become healthier.
Yeah.
We can't wait because we all have busy lives.
Exactly. And we all, like I said, you're over the age of 30, you're experiencing shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, sciatica. All of these complaints are so common. We're all rushing to the drug cabinet, looking for a pill to make us feel better. That's not the case. What we do need is proper alignment, as the doctor said. He's written a wonderful book. Dr. Alexander Barrie has written a wonderful book. It's called Correct Your Pelvis and Heal Your Back, 3rd edition. He has also invented a wonderful device called the Pelvic Corrector that you use twice a day, and it promises to give you a pain-free back. Well worth the time to take a look at the link below, investigate what the doctor has to offer, and consider purchasing it, because it could just be a game changer. Doctor, before we leave you today, anything you'd like to add?
Well, using the pelvic corrector should not be taken for granted. It's something that's been invented to help your health, to help you to get out of pain. And when you use it, you should have a sense of, how should we say, propriety. Close the door, get the children out of the way, and give yourself that 2 or 3 minutes using it. Yeah. And it will work for you. Respect it. Don't take it for granted. Even if you're tired and you know that you need to use it for that 2 minutes, as I said, it's me time. Close your, take yourself into one room away from others and give yourself that time to use it.
Exactly. 2 minutes twice a day, well worth the investment in your body. You know, your soul will be at peace when your back feels better. Trust me, I'm someone who's got a very tall structure, doctor. I'm 6'6". So I do have lower back pain. So I will look into your link as well. This is very exciting news. I'm happy to share it with my audience. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight, Dr. Barrie.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
So good talking to you. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.